Searching, striving for my place in this life. Running in circles, fighting, scared I would never find rest for the longing for something real deep in my soul. When nothing can feel me, you find me, and I finally let go. I know that you're the only one that satisfies all the deepest longings of my soul. You're the only place that I can find my place in this life and rest in thee. You're the desire of my heart. You're the desire of my heart is roving, always looking for more. Restless and thirsting for deeper places that can lead me beyond vapors of chasing older, fading things of this world, place where I'm fully free to just be loved and be known. You're the only one that satisfies all the deepest longings of my soul. You're the only place that I can find my place in this life and rest in thee. You're the desire of my heart. You're the desire of my my heart is searching for a home I can finally lay down. Weight of the world off my soul. Every time I get low, I question again. Yet I look to the hills for my hope, sinking again, falling not sure where I lay. Resting what's left of my faith in your head, trusting and praying you can't save me. And love will never let me down. You're the only one that satisfies all the deepest longings of my soul. You're the only place that I can find my place in this life and rest in thee. You're the desire of my heart. You're the desire of my heart. You're the desire of my heart.
They went to Capernaum, and when the Sabbath came, he entered the synagogue and taught. They were astounded at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. Just then there was in their synagogue a man with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be silent and come out of him." And the unclean spirit, convulsing him and crying with a loud voice, came out of him. They were all amazed, and they kept asking on one another, "What is this? A new teaching, with authority! He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." At once his fame began to spread throughout the surrounding region of Galilee.
So I'm here with Vincent Charlow, who he and I have a history that goes back to Knoxville, Tennessee, when I was the Wesley Foundation director there at the University of Tennessee. And he was a student and part of the Wesley Foundation, and for a while was the music leader. And so it is so good to see you again. I see you on social media all the time, and have been seeing what you're up to. And it's so good to at least see your face, even if not in person. So,
same, Tim. There's so many fond memories I have of the Wesley Foundation, and it's now years later where I see how formative it was for my faith today. You and Heather both challenged us in ways that I think a lot of the students at that time are just seeing how important it was to be challenged in that way. So first, thank you so much for your efforts at the Wesley Foundation. I hold those memories, those lessons, those meals very, very close to my heart.
So much food. Yes. Oh my goodness. I gained so much weight my first year there because I was living off of the college student diet, and I soon realized that was not sustainable for a guy my age.
Man, people don't believe me. I said I did not have a meal plan at any point while I was at UT. I went to the Wesley Foundation and just purchased a few groceries here and there.
Yeah, well, the Wesley meal plan was quite a thing. So. Oh, goodness. So this week we're talking about Mark chapter 1, where Jesus is in Capernaum. He's gone to the synagogue. That was his habit. Anytime he was anywhere, he would go to the synagogue, and he had an opportunity to teach. And the people were really impressed by his authority. He spoke as somebody who knew what he was talking about, and not like some of the experiences they had previously with some of the other folks. But in the midst of that, there was a person there with an unclean spirit that began to really yell at Jesus and say, "What is it that you want to do with us? You want to destroy us? I know who you are." And so Jesus silenced this unclean spirit and cast it out of the person that was there. And, I was thinking that in these last several years, especially as social media has been able to bring things to light, and this last year has really been apocalyptic in a way that it's revealing things, uncovering things. The inequalities that COVID has brought about, the inequalities that have been there all along for people of color, particularly Black men, unarmed Black men that have been killed by police. That in the American church, there is this unclean spirit, this demon of racism that is that presence that knows who Jesus is and is really threatened by that. And there's that sense of wanting to put a stop to that. But Jesus is calling that out and trying to exorcise that from our lives of faith so that we can be the people that God is yearning for us to be. And I ran across this statement. I mentioned this to you just a few minutes ago in our just catching up time. That
pregame.
Yeah, our pregame. They hated Jesus because he exposed the demons they became comfortable with. And so you've become involved in this group called Common Hymnal, which has a lot of music. You can look them up on YouTube. I'll put the link in the comment section for the worship video for those of you who haven't yet heard anything of theirs. But you've recently become involved in their projects, and the most recent thing that I think just dropped yesterday is an album called Praise and Protest. So tell me about that. How did you get involved, and what's kind of going on with all of that?
Yeah, my involvement with Common Hymnal is recent, but not, but also very exciting. I'll explain why that sounds contradictory. So, the performer of Shots Fired, his name is Philip Joubert, and we've been friends for almost 3 years now. And in the past 5 years, I've taken up producing and been producing my own album, which in turn to producing for a lot of local artists. So it's something that I do pretty consistently now. And Phil and I had been talking, along with a few other members of Common Hymnal, Brandon Hampton, and another friend, Connor Stephen, all artists on Common Hymnal. We become friends locally here in Knoxville. And we've just been forming this community where we would get together, we talk about faith, where we're at, what's happening in the world, and then we dive into music and connecting and writing and making music that seems to speak prophetically to what's happening right now. Prophetic in that we're calling attention to what people tend to be blind to in the world that's in front of them. And Philip he's too humble to say this, but he's a virtuoso with what he does, weaving words together. And not only does he have the intuition to speak truth to power, but he has the knowledge to back it up. So when you have a conversation with Phil, you're not only getting feelings, you're getting a lot of history, a lot of reading that he's done, a lot of experience in different church spaces. So he, after Ahmaud Arbery had gotten murdered last year, he wrote a song and did it over another person's instrumental. Now, Common Hymnal had begun to amass music together from all across the world, from different writers everywhere, to speak to what was happening, praise and protest. And Philip was asked to do a version of the song he wrote on Ahmaud's behalf. And he approached me about producing it. So we got together at about 9 p.m., 10 a.m. and left. Well, my studio is just right back here in a room. But we finished at 4 a.m. that night, and we came out with that song. And we felt really good about how strong it was and how it really seemed to push the energy at that time. And from there, I got welcomed to the table for Common Hymnal. And now I'm deeply involved in developing the social media, the production, music, along with a great team of people, an amazing team of people. And what we seek to do truthfully is just do what Jesus did. To not interested in the high production values, the cinematic. What we want is to collect songs that really speak to the heart of Jesus and what is happening in the world right now. So you probably won't find any big stars anywhere, like me. Where the leader of Common Hymnal, his name is Malcolm Duplessis, an amazing guy if you don't know of him. But he uses the word misfits very often. We want to be multi-ethnic. We want to just create a space where we truly see that all people are welcome to the table, and we can speak truth to the experience and realities of our world. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. Oh, you did.
Okay.
And, I've noticed in some of the pre-COVID videos, where they were doing worship gatherings and things like that it was a surprisingly eclectic bunch of folks that were gathered there. And there was, at once this sense of joy and happiness and being together, but then there's that honesty too, that you don't find in a lot of worship music. So much of it is, I sometimes call it Jesus is my boyfriend, the kind of stuff. If you change the name Jesus to somebody else's name, it sounds like it could be a romantic song to somebody else.
Yeah.
Or the kind that, if I'm just good enough, everything's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's going to be
Wow.
perfect. And this project, like you said, I think part of its power is its lack of star personality,
Mm-hmm.
not a cult of personality, but about an honesty, a prophetic honesty of
Mm-hmm.
what's being proclaimed. So praise and protest, like the Psalms. The psalmists were the full range of human emotion, from
Exactly.
let everything that has breath praise the Lord. But then there's also the God, my eyes are worn out from trying to find you. When are you gonna answer?
When will you dash my enemy's head against the stone, God?
Oh yeah, the one that never makes it into the lectionary. How many clergy have the courage to stand up and speak to the message of that?
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough one to approach, but yeah, the idea of these projects, of these people from all around the world working to proclaim in this different way from what a lot of folks have seen, I think has a lot of power to it. And I was so excited to see that you're a part of that, because I have seen some of your journey along the way, at least from the time that we met at the University of Tennessee till, seeing what you're doing now. And your Instagram stories are really powerful and convicting, and, helping people to see things that maybe they're in their lives, they don't have the eyes to see. And so what would your advice be to college students now, as we're seeking to work with Christ to cast out this demon of racism and exclusion?
My best advice would be to look at the stories that you're telling yourself. We are all, in terms of our realities that we live in, we paint them according to the stories that we were raised with about who we are, and what we could be. In American history, some people will look back at the stories they've been told and see an America that could have been great, that would have been great for them, filled with parlors and roller skating and a nuclear family, a happy nuclear family, 2 kids and a dog in a White House, filled with opportunity and boundless resources and chances to do great things. Some other Americans will look back through the same timeline and see stories of marching in streets to just get a place to eat, to go to school, to go to a college, to not just go to a college, but go to a college where they have the same educational resources and facilities that their other counterparts would. Some people will look back in history and see where they have been used as test subjects against their will. Or they'll see that their grandmothers and great grandmothers that are alive today would have been in marches where they would have been arrested. They would have seen where they weren't allowed to vote or actively prevented from going to vote. There are more than two, but there are different stories that we're raised with, although they seem to come from the same place. Listen to those other stories. I was having a conversation with a friend last night, and we were talking about kind of what we talked about earlier about a lot of worship music today and how it seems to create a codependency with your insufficiencies. where you're constantly and longing for this God of healing and this relationship, this ATM transaction relationship with God, when really I feel so changed. I feel as if the story of Christ truly has rocked my world and forever changed my reality. So no matter what I doubt, no matter what difficulties I come in through, because of the story of Christ, because of my what's the best word? Just my changed heart with being welcomed into the family of God and being sealed by the Holy Spirit. My heart is expansive and my capacity to love is wider. I can't look at the world without seeing a desire to give dignity to every human being that I meet. I can't ignore the needs that I run across every day in the world. I can't close my eyes to the widowed, the orphaned, the oppressed. Because when I see Christ, I don't see some magical boyfriend. I see a redeemer. I see one who speaks truth to power. I see one who loves untied and welcomes all to his table. That story has changed me. So my biggest suggestion to any student, listen to other people's stories, not with your rose-colored glasses, not with some interest in changing their stories or speaking your experience into their stories, aka gaslighting. But just listen and ask yourself where your story is in connection with theirs. And maybe there's some meeting points that would affect your opinion, and allow yourself to be put in their shoes. And maybe your world could be changed too. That's my biggest advice.
Thanks, Vincent. Yeah, the gospel isn't good news unless it's good news for all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thanks so much for your time today. And you mentioned before we started recording that you've got some stuff coming up in a couple weeks. So I'll keep my eyes peeled, and I'll be sure to share that with the folks to let them know what's going on with you. So
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, but stay tuned. More exciting things with Common Hymn all the way. More exciting things with my stuff on the way. I just think more exciting things in general.
Wonderful. Well, thanks.
No problem, Tim. This was great. Good catching up.
Good to catch up with you too.
Good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, deliver us from the merchants in the temple and the worship of our greed that has dragged us off our center to ignore the good we need. So we rise in angry contest over fears of scarcity, and we ravage in conquest, losing our humanity. Good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, deliver us. Good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, deliver us. It's a constant quest for power over all that we survey, but
We cannot know the hour of the coming of your day. So we sink beneath our demons, and we rise up in our hate. Come, O Lord, restore our reason. Come, O Christ, the time is late. Oh, good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, deliver us. Good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, deliver us. Give us strength to be more humble, and to listen, not to speak, to cast off our raging thunder, and instead your mercy seek. When we fall to our temptation, give us grace to rise again, to rebuild a shattered nation, to save all your children then. Oh, good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, deliver us. Good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, deliver us, deliver us, oh, deliver us, deliver us, yeah.
The wisdom of God is all around us, poured out among all of creation. Its teachers are old and new. It dwells deep within and on the edges. It takes on forms strange and ordinary. All who seek God's wisdom will find it, if only we pay attention, open to surprise, open to challenge, and open to the prophets of our day. May it be so among us.
Go forth in good